Okay, good afternoon. Oops, that's strong. My name is Lüthen. I'm Gravinaut on Twitter. Some people may know my face with a different name. I mean, you know all the famous Arthur Dent, the infamous Earthling on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so you can find me that one on Facebook if you find me down there, because about 500 others around. I'm not a space person primarily, so there's a funny thing standing here. I'm a medical doctor by profession, clinician, working in university hospital, putting people to sleep as an anesthetist for cardiac and pulmonary operations. So there's no space. Never has been ever done a real operation in space. No person has ever been put to sleep in anesthesia. So as Space Case wants to go to Mars, I want to give the first anesthesia in space. We'll see one day. Well, this has been lying in me for years and years and years, and last year I was able to go to the Space Tweet Up in Cologne, and then, you know, it happened again, and bomb, it came. And I heard about International Space University before. They're based in Strasbourg in France, and they have a summer program called Space Studies Program, or short is SSP. It's a hashtag also on Twitter if you want to follow that one. SSP 12 this year. And, well, I tried to find out about that. So what's the Space Studies Program by SSP, by International Space University? And you see this picture here, which is Space Shuttle Atlantis in front of the Vehicle Assembly Building in Kennedy Space Center. This International Space University Space Studies Program, every year it has a different location. That's the basic idea. It travels around the world. From time to time, it's in Strasbourg at the home faculty. Usually then it's a problem at a location when they go to. A couple of years ago, they wanted to go to Naples. They had the big problem with all the dustbins that never get cleaned up by the locals. They had to move out fastly. So, but in theory, it's moving around the world. Next year, it's in Brazil. In 2014, it will be in Montreal in Canada. I'm not able to remember the place in Brazil. It's a difficult Spanish name, or sorry, Portuguese name. Portuguese. So let me see. This is our program. This is our program poster this year. So this is, as you can see, imagining Melbourne, Florida. And here's Kennedy Space Center. So where do you want to be? It's a 1 hour drive on 55 minutes on a car and 1 hour 15 on a NASA bus. This is the group of people we were. It's the official opening ceremony picture they took of us. We were 134 participants. Not everybody is on that picture yet. And you might see some familiar faces on there. In the first row, you can see SpaceGate there. And in the back row, you see a face. It's nearly behind there, there's Chris Welch, Dr. Chris Welch. He's sitting in the back. You can ask him any question about International Space University, even better than me. And he's doing the master's program there. So it's even better information you can achieve. Our location this year was Florida Institute of Technology. I don't know if you used the European campuses at university. When I was studying, it wasn't looking like this. They have an amazing campus, and everything was set up so perfectly for us. There's a big place. You see these arcades there, the building with the big windows. They called the Panther. They have the American football team Panthers. The Panther Dining Hall. Well, you're pretty used to a Mensa or a student restaurant. Well, this is the first time ever I could go to a student restaurant and order my omelette how I want to have it cooked. And it was like, I grew, unfortunately. So this is International Space University. This is their brochure you can pick up probably at the desk and also in general. And this is the different programs they have. They have a Space Studies program, which is a general program, and you got the Master's program, which is a year. Space Studies program is only 9 weeks. It doesn't give you a title or anything. So the masters give you a master's title at the end. The question is, do you need always a title? I would say you don't need always a title, but for me it was worth to do that. And you can see here in the scheme what the 9 weeks are. It's hard to read, but you can see it's about like third. So you got a beginning phase when there's 4 weeks of lectures, and these 4 weeks of lectures have different themes. And then you have some that they call departments, where you do a little project, and at the end you've got a big team project. We were 130 people, so we had 4 teams of about 30 people each, and you have to work something out. More about that later. This is a schedule. This document, and I have to find this back on my computer. Find the. Now it's really. Here we are. Will this work out? Yes. This is. Sorry for that. Aha. I'm in transition between computers, as I said. My old computer couldn't handle my digital camera's files anymore, so I had to get a new one. This is 9 weeks of days. You see, it starts in the morning at 9. It goes on officially until the dinner hours. And in the evening, you've got optional lectures. Most of us didn't want to meet out the optional lectures, which usually went until 9 p.m. or even 10 p.m. And a lot of the people always partied every night. So you can see maybe also a reason why International Space University, ISU, is also called Insufficient Sleep University. You work hard, you party hard. And both things are really going on strong. So what you see here in the morning, you got the blue part here, you got lectures. It's 3 hours every day, lecture, 50 minutes break. And you learn about a lot of things of space. And because I can show you here the different department. And you got also lectures about the same topics of the departments. So you got management and business lectures, you got engineering lectures, life sciences lectures, physical science, policy and law, space applications, and space and society. What do you imagine space and society? There's one lecturer, he's talking about futures. How would you say, future or futures? You all say future. After this lecture, you go out and you talk about possible futures. It's plural. What do you imagine? Did you think about earlier going to a space university, think about futures? I didn't think about that. Of course, I cannot tell you the content of that lecture within half an hour. So you got all these lectures for 4 weeks going on. You've got every morning got lectures, and you see remote sensing, space robotics. You got orbital mechanics. You can ask Dr. Chris Welch again about that. He's giving an amazing lecture about that. You can actually understand later. And well, this is for 4 weeks, and after 4 weeks, there's one thing standing here. It says core lecture exam. Well, I finished my studies 18 years ago, so my last exam was a long time ago. And this is a 4-hour written exam. So it's not only fun what you do at SSB, you also have to work and you have to pass that exam and answer questions to all the topics and also some free questions there in general about space. 4-hour written free text process. So it's kind of tough, especially if you're not a native English speaker. I mean, already for me it was quite interesting. I think my English is not the worst. And I could imagine that our Chinese French, which we had about 30 people, they really had to struggle. You can already see something here in the afternoons in the phase before. It says DA, Department Activity, and TP, Team Project. We were doing these department things, and you had to choose for something, and I chose something that was called Space Applications. Another thing was Life Science, and like this. And actually, they encourage you not to do what you're regularly doing in your job. So I'm a physician, so life science would be my natural thing. So they told me, don't go there. Go to something I've never done before. I'm not an engineer, so I went into space application. There's also a law department, and there was something about space debris, all these little things flying around Earth and endangering us, and all spacecraft flying around. So the idea is to get you out of your comfort zone, to get you into areas which you have to explore and find out about these things, but also to find out about yourself, how you explore these areas. So, and after a while, it gets more and more team project every day. And you can see here the regular hours. This is the idea of the schedule. But at the end of that program, you have to write a report, and you're not working only until 7 p.m. You're working most of the nights. Anyway, I go back to the presentation. If I can make this thing, yeah, wow, it works. Will it continue? Oh yeah. One of the projects is you're building a robot. This is a Lego robot, and you can program the thing. There are some programming tools. So you have small groups. With these small groups, you have to sit together and build a little robot. This robot has to collect on a certain floor little gems, little marbles, and you have to find a mechanism that this robot is shuffling in these marbles into a sort of basket. And already building this was quite difficult. And building this together was difficult. And for the fun part at the end, you got a competition where all the robots fight against each other, and a lot of things don't go work. So a lot of things don't work at all. And it's quite fun to see how it is. But anyway, the teaching thing. I mean, I mentioned we got this wonderful lecture about orbital mechanics by Dr. Chris Welch. But of course, at the beginning, you don't get it. Even with that wonderful lecture, I didn't get it. So this is practical lecture. One of my teammates, he gave me that paper, and well, have you ever heard about argument of perigee? Probably the people who do cosmonautics and astrobiology. Astrology, yes, but I have never heard about that. You will know about that later. Well, I mentioned the dining hall. This is the Panther dining hall. This is a typical American weekend breakfast. So you see where your stomach comes from after that time. But also it was a wonderful place to study. We were studying for the exams here. You can see somebody else sitting around. Everybody was like going nuts. Anyway, I told you about the department. So I went into department doing space applications. And in this department, you also have to give a presentation and write a little paper after about 2 weeks. That's not much time. This is after a few days. The literature I had researched for that, and this is only part of it. It's a screenshot of my computer. You have to build this paper, and you have to give a presentation within your small group. We also judge on it, but that judging, you don't have to be fearing too much. It's more the process for learning to give a presentation in front of people, and don't worry about it. Well, unfortunately here, this is supposed to be completely white. We have the team projects. This year, the themes of the team project change every year. This year we had 4 team projects. One was called Next Generation Space Station. Next one was called Space Ports. Next one was called Space Debris. And the 4th one was STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics, how to get young people into these subjects. I was lucky to be into the Next Generation Space Station, and the whole team project evolved, it developed during the thing. We thought at the beginning it was a singular Next Generation Space Station, but our team project ended up in being about different versions, possibilities for Next Generation Space Stations, plural again. So we changed the name to BLISS, Beyond LEO into the Solar Systems, because we've been flying around Earth all the time. The only thing we further got away was Apollo, and that's it. And we need to go further. So we wrote this report, and I said we were 34 people in our team project, and we're a couple of weeks busy, and the last 3 weeks you're only doing team project. And you have to write a report, but I mean, a report is not only just, try to find it, to pull it up for you on this computer, if I'm able to do that. Find a report. Come on. Never get a new computer just ahead of a presentation. It's supposed to pull up and it doesn't. So I apologize for that one. Anyway, this report is a 128 pages report. I mean, I don't know if many of you are engineers, but I've never been ever in my life writing something more than 10, 15 pages, and definitely not collaborative with 34, 35 other people. And it's a complete chaos, all these people on one document. You work at night, you've got editors, some people take care of the proper language. It's not a nightmare, it's great to do it, but at a certain moment you're completely sleep deprived and stressed. But at the end, you will love the result. Also, you have to give a presentation at the end. So we gave a presentation. Our presentation was, of course, about the Next Generation Space Station. We had to give a 1-hour presentation to our other student friends. And we had a boarding pass for that, because we invited them into a travel into the future onto that station. And of course, like these things are, of course, we had to choose on the boarding pass seat number 42, and the serial number is one astronomical unit is 149 million kilometers. The other thing, we have to do is not only the 128-page report, you also have to do a glossy. You have to do a nice colored brochure of 16 pages, which you would put like on the desk of a reception, somebody else get him interested. I've never been doing a glossy before, like nice paper, nice graphics with some content, but only the content is promising to do more. So you learn also how to write such a glossy. This one actually currently is to be found at the, entre autres, at the entrance room, the waiting room of the director of NASA Ames at California. Well, the Okay, thanks, Mike's gonna. Well, part of SSP are also excursions to local sites of importance to space. I mean, our department, we visited some sites also off-site of Kennedy Space Center. We went to a company called Harris. I've never heard before as a medical doctor. They do a lot of in-space communications, aerospace communications. They do the whole FAA communication in the United States. And they really do satellite communication with anything. So you did a lot of field visits, but we did, of course, this year at Kennedy Space Center, we did some awesome visits to Kennedy Space Center. Anybody knows where I am here? Which place is that? This is where Atlantis touched down as the final space shuttle flight. How do you get there? We got there. This is on the roof of Vehicle Assembly Building. On the rooftop. This is a panorama shot, 360 degrees at it. And few people know this place. Maybe some people heard about that. And when you talk to NASA people, if you tell them we've been having a lunch lecture there, this is the so-called beach house. This is the retreat of the astronauts together with the families before they got into space from Kennedy Space Center. It's always fun to have a nice bus. And they took us for rocket launches. And the rocket launches sometimes were early in the morning, or at least they were scheduled early in the morning, and then we had some countdown break-offs. So NASA came with their bus and always said friendly NASA guests, which is, of course, you feel very welcome. We were able to observe 2 rocket launches, Atlas 5 with the military satellite, and Delta IV Heavy with the, what I understood, the most secret spy satellite ever launched on the strongest rocket of the world. Funny enough, the Delta IV Heavy has Russian rocket engines. That's a modern way of spying together. This is from the balcony of the OSB. It is a building of NASA. This is a place where no tourist can go. This is where no VIPs go. This is the VVIP place. And we were invited by NASA to observe a rocket launch. And you can actually see it, that the rocket, you can still see the smoke. There, the Atlas V went up. And we're really happy that we were able to observe from there. And I mean, usually what Simon is doing with the camera, I'm doing the same. So I'm running around with 1,000 camera bodies and lenses and anything. So this is the setting again. You can see this wonderful balcony where we were able to observe the rocket launch. Unfortunately, after a while, the whole program finished. I mean, there are a few places in the world, I never thought about that before, where the closing ceremony, this is for you who have been at Kennedy Space Center will recognize this. This is the Apollo building at the Kennedy Space Center. This is a Saturn V moon rocket. And NASA sent us their Deputy Administrator, Laurie Garver, for opening ceremony, and they sent us, he came out friendly enough, and he even stayed for the party. Charlie Bolden, NASA Administrator, was with us for our graduation party. This is an unconference, so I did some preparations in a sense of untalk. So I hope this will work now with this thing. Let me see if this works. It does. We were very lucky to have access to Endeavour, which just flew out last week to California. So this was the last shuttle fly out from Kennedy Space Center. And we never got why we were not allowed to touch it. I mean, this is now on display in the museum, will never fly again. We were not allowed to touch it. But we were very close into that building to see Endeavour. This is Endeavour's butt. I can say in Europe, not in the United States. It's immense. And if you cannot imagine this building. It's like gigantic. I mean, it's about probably twice as wide as the back wall, and the space shuttle is in the length to the back. And this is only the OPF building, the Orbiter Processing Facility, and not the Vehicle Assembly Building, which is even taller. This is underneath the belly of Endeavour. You can see the heat shield on top of me. And yeah, we had every freedom. NASA people were so friendly to us. I mean, they waited a little moment that I could get a shot without any other people in there, and I was like lying on the ground on my back to get my fisheye, to get everything in there. And we were able to hold it. This is a heat tile. These tiles they use for the heat shield of the space shuttles. And they are so lightweight. So they gave us everything, let us see these things. And I have some other for you of my photo collection. 2 minutes. The other one was late as well. So I have to make up the time of the others. Okay. Get my favorites here. This is Space Shuttle Atlantis in the Vehicle Assembly Building. They rolled it over from the OPF to the Vehicle Assembly Building, and then you look up. The moon rockets were there, and you know they are taller than 100 meters. So if you see these little lights up there, the 5 square lights, this is more than 120 meters altitude, and the building is 160 where we're on top. I showed the picture earlier. And actually, we had a rocket launch, as I said, and one of these was the countdown was delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. So instead of lifting off at 6:15, it lifted off at 9:15, which was a wonderful present to us, because we didn't drive home to Melbourne to FIT, but we saw Atlantis from the OPF outside rolling over to the Vehicle Assembly Building. This was a mind-blowing day we had, and this is Atlantis in front of the VAB, and this is our sunrise picture there. And I think I still want to finish with that one. Thank you. Questions? If I may. In the OPF or in the Vehicle Assembly Building? OPF. The OPF is completely lit up. It's complete light. It's more like daylight. But there's, yeah, Atlantis will be in there for a little moment anywhere if you get the chance now, but it will move soon out to the museum. At Kennedy Space at the display, they're still building that. The Vehicle Assembly Building, like the picture you saw before, is quite darkish. There was The picture inside was a HDR photo composed of 5 and then software processed. No questions? Well, there's an ISU, International Space University, has a stand outside. Check it out if you're interested. And I forgot to mention one thing, maybe give me that little moment. There's a price tag on it. That is terrible. There's a price tag on it. You have to pay, but there's also some scholarships available. But you also need 9 weeks off. So for me, it was a price tag. I was lucky that ESER, thanks to ESER, was partially giving me a tuition sponsorship, which eased my pain because I had to take 2 months unpaid leave, which in my senior position in the meantime, of course, it's a big financial hit as well. But if you want to have a great experience getting you out of the box into something else, you might want to consider this program. And it's not only about space, you learn a lot about yourself, about your way of working, how you can structure things. Since I'm back, I'm restructuring not only my personal life, I'm restructuring my professional life in the way I approach certain things at work. And I'm a medical doctor in the OR, it's completely not space related, but I'm targeting that. And of course, as you see also that paper we had, we're continuing on that one also. We have a presentation in 9 days from now at the International Astronautical Congress in Naples. So you can continue afterward also. It's a good step into there. Muchas gracias.